welcome to my car. Today we've got a very special video for you that is going to reveal one of the main issues in the Neville Goddard and Law of Assumption community and how it can stop plaguing you forevermore if you listen to today's video. So yeah, very, very special morning in my car. If you don't know who I am, I'm one of the few people who have written extensively on the teachings of Neville Goddard in books like Relax More, Try Less, Mindful Manifestation, and Manifestation Through Relaxation, as well as having written dozens of lengthy, semi-interesting to very interesting posts on Reddit about Neville, made hundreds of videos about him. Also edited several of Neville's talks into books, in books and short guides like Manifesting Miracles and The Wealth Mindset. A lot of you have probably read those before. Me who edited that stuff. And let me tell you, this is the beginning of this, what we're getting into. I still don't feel like I understand Neville that much. And I've done my best to apply his teachings into my life in the decade plus since I got into him. And the more I got into his teachings and other teachers like it, the more I realized how little I knew. And even the little that I did know and applied and integrated, like how to utilize relaxation in my imagination more, was enough to change my life. You know, to change my financial situation, to change my job, to change my family situation, to change where we live. I've spoken about all this before. But here's the thing we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be discussing the Dunning-Kruger effect. I think that's how you pronounce it. I made a community post the other day talking about the Dunning-Kruger effect, which basically says, excuse me if I don't get this perfectly right, the Wikipedia explanation of the Dunning-Kruger effect will be below. But the Dunning-Kruger effect basically says that when people are not that good at something, they often assume that they understand it pretty well and are pretty good at it. And that many people who actually do have some intelligence or are good at something, have some wisdom when it comes to a topic, often underestimate the amount of competence they have because they realize there's so much more to learn, right? This applies to what I just said, and it fucking applies to the Neville Goddard Law of Assumption community. The law of attraction manifesting community at large, for sure. But particularly the Neville online space on YouTube and Reddit, because it is one of the craziest spaces I've ever seen in terms of this Dunning-Kruger effect, where you have basically, 98% plus of people who leave comments or put Reddit posts or anything have no fucking idea how stupid they are when it comes to this stuff, yet assume they know what they're talking about. You see all these posts on Reddit, for instance, where people are like, this is how you do it. But here's the thing. And this is, I just don't understand this really. Because I've never been this way when it comes to stuff like this. I got into Neville and I was humbled, and I stayed humbled, generally speaking. You just heard me. I still don't really understand Neville that well. And the little I do understand of him has helped me a lot. You get a lot of folks in the Neville community who, do one thing or read one thing and they think they're fucking experts. And guess what? They're not. They're fucking morons. They're morons. If you go on Reddit or YouTube or wherever you choose online to get your Neville misinformation, you are going to be met with a bunch of moronic commentary by people who think they are experts at the law of assumption. Motherfucker, if you're an expert at the law of assumption, you are fucking healing people and teaching this stuff in a way that makes sense. And none of y'all are, pretty much, that I know of. I hope more of you do. I hope more of you actually do start to understand Neville. But the people who understand Neville well are not the people explaining it, usually, online. Right? You want intelligent commentary on Neville online. Oof. You got to look, far and long usually. But you have all these people who think they are intelligent and sound like they know what they're talking about and are going to gaslight you if you disagree with their perfect assessment of the law of assumption. Are you feeding the poor? Are you healing the sick? Huh? What are you doing? All ye so-called experts. Yeah. The Dunning-Kruger effect explains why so many people are confused about this crazy law of assumption scene. It's why I always say, and why Marvin Daniels, my colleague, when we do relationship coaching on this subject, it's why we always say, be careful who you listen to when it comes to these ideas. And I would suggest, when it comes to the law of assumption, listening to more trusted sources. In other words, people like Neville himself, and then some of the critical commentary that has been published about Neville by people like Israel Regardie, or Mitch Horowitz, myself, and a few others, perhaps. Instead of taking advice about what the law of assumption is from strangers and morons on the internet. Marvin and I, because we do, a lot of relationship coaching, we're always shocked when, we're just shocked at the percentage of people who, quote unquote, are into the law of assumption who have never actually read Neville Goddard. Dudes and dudettes, you are not into the law of assumption if you have never read Neville Goddard. You are into something else altogether different. You're into the sensationalism, the fanaticism. And again, this pertains to so much of this manifesting stuff in general. You have all these people using it as basically a marketing platform, telling you how easy it will be to do. Change your life in 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever. There's just, everybody's talking the talk. It's so much more difficult to walk the walk. And it's so much more gratifying to walk the walk. To change your relationships, to change your job, to change your financial situation. That's what I love helping people with. That's why I wrote those books about Neville and edited those books about Neville. That's why I work with clients one-on-one. And if you're interested in actually doing that work, link is in the description. But most people, not on this channel, because a lot of people watching this channel are, have been into this stuff and are looking at it somewhat soberly, but most people wanting to find out about these ideas are not serious. And they fall for the sensationalism, the lies, the half-truths, and this is the big one, the over-promising and under-delivering. Dunning-Kruger effect. And when you grasp these ideas a little bit, basically any spiritual idea, it's very humbling and it's very gratifying too. For instance, I'm a member still of, I still get emails from Quasi Joe here. A lot of you know him. He's got a huge YouTube channel. Got an email from him the other day, just a general email to his list, just talking about, how he noticed how badly he felt about himself because he wasn't producing as much in his business in terms of like family stuff over the holiday time. This is a guy who's, I think, still in his 20s and, made millions of dollars applying these ideas, had a very successful business, manifested a happy family life seemingly. And he's saying, I feel like a failure. And that's the kind of thing. I mean, I've talked about this a lot on my channel. You feel like a failure. You feel like you don't know what you're doing a lot of the time when you're seriously integrating these ideas. That's the fucking truth. You ever listen to Maggie's channel, Neville Goddess? It's so much deeper and so much more nuanced that if you're falling for all this bullshit, you're never going to even realize what she's talking about is how this stuff actually works. You think that this is a woman in her car complaining about her problems while she's actually giving the most astute Neville commentary on YouTube. the nuances, the realness is what we have to look for. You know, I made that video about Nero knowledge, a couple weeks ago. Same thing, Nero has, kind of flashy videos now, funny videos. He's one of the few people besides myself who's actually not all serious when he talks about this stuff. But like what he's getting at are very non-flashy concepts. It's about integrating it, right? And that is what we have to, what has to click for us. And that is not stupid Reddit posts or stupid sensationalized YouTube videos. And it's like, it's why, as always, I talk about Emile Coué and his teachings and the commentary on Coué's teachings by like Cyrus Harry Brooks, by Charles Baudouin. And when I talk about all those guys, most people aren't interested. It's because they don't get, they're too new to realize that that's the real manifestation advice usually. That's what directly inspired. That's what Neville's really talking about, or Joseph Murphy. They don't see that. Like, you can read Charles Baudouin's book on suggestion and autosuggestion. I think it's called Suggestion and Autosuggestion. His book about Coué and about autosuggestion. And you can read it, and it's like a textbook. It's like a textbook that soberly is explaining these ideas with none of the sensationalism. And you can, if you read that, you really understand these ideas better. But guess what? No one reads it. Because they want to be told fantasies instead. Fuck the fantasies. Let's do some real work. That's my point. If you want to see a video I did talking about Charles Baudouin's book, Suggestion and Autosuggestion, check out the video below. Until next time, Dunning-Kruger effect. Remember it whenever you're on YouTube watching these videos by creators.